Kunjani lapha phakathi vele? Kuyabheda? Khumbula umndeni wakho? Hayi ke, masize ukuthi uthini ujaji.
Now the state proceeds exactly on that same line of speculative, prospective speculation. So I don't know whether that is by the blessing of the court that no, in any event, let him proceed.
What do you mean by the blessing of the court?
I'm asking, my lord, because...
No, you can't say that. I don't bless any witness in this court. I don't bless any counsel in this court. I'm just judging the case. How can you say by my blessing?
No, understand.
No, just withdraw that, please. I feel insulted. I feel insulted.
I did not intend to insult you, my lord.
Yeah, it's an insult to me.
Let me explain myself.
But the blessing of the court.
When I say blessing, that is a Shakespearean language.
Never. I know English far better than you.
I understand that, my lord.
Blessing
But
of
that
the
is
court.
Shakespearean English. That simply means that the court allow the question, does the court allow the state to proceed that which is being referred to as prospective speculation or not? In other words, I'm requesting the court to rule on the objection. Simple as that.
Hey, Chada, we are back with another video. Today it is the 8th of June 2026, and Ramos Pile promised us a new witness by the name of Warrant Officer Steenkamp. Steenkamp is the guy that helped the state to draw up the identity kit, which depicted allegedly the faces of Ubogantans and Gadamnube. That is according to the state. It's not the reality. But Steenkamp was helped by the late witness by the name of Thabang Makeleni. Remember, Thabang Makeleni died due to poisoning just before the start of the trial after the death of Undlovu, Pekatian Ndlovu. So their death still to this day remains a mystery. But Ulonage Steenkamp made up that sketch artist after in the house no one had been able to help him to draw up a sketch artist. So an outsider by the name of Thabang Makeleni, he says he saw the two same men at the gas station, and then later on he saw them running out of the Kumal household on the day that Senzo was unalived. Makeleni said one guy had a gold tooth and dreadlocks, and he said the height of one guy was 1.8 meters, which was something strange because it was dark in the night. I'm not sure how we could see such special features, but I would like you to listen to the evidence of Brigadier Kininda explaining how did they link the statement of Makeleni and the evidence of Zungu and other witnesses. But remember, it's all hogwash.
Furthermore, fast tracking now to after the 18th of June 2020, my lord, to the time when I interviewed Constable Zungu, and he subsequently submitted a statement. In his statement, he clearly indicates that at the hostel, and it's contained in his statement, accused who was wearing a black hoodie, which was described at the crime scene on the 24th. He says he was wearing a black hoodie, he changed to a different hoodie of a different color. But when they came back, or when you saw him, the hoodie was wearing is black in color. It's contained in his statement, my lord. My recollection, my lord, is that also I seem to recall that the description in terms of the height given by Mr. Makeleni was about 1.8. What I'm not sure of, and I can check during the long adjournment if there is any report or is contained in a statement of Colonel Mangena, because the exact measurement of how tall he is, this is now accused to, was established by Colonel Mangena during that exercise of trying, but that I don't recall, my lord. But Mr. Makeleni's one, I do recall that he estimated him to be 1.8. So one will have to see what Colonel Mangena says in.
Yep, that was Brigadier Kininda saying that the height of the second intruder was about 1.8 meters tall. But my problem is that it was October, and we know that in South Africa during October at about 7 p.m. it is totally dark. So it was impossible for Thabang Makeleni to see such special features such as the gold tooth and the dreadlocks and so on. But he said Makeleni helped Warrant Officer Steenkamp to draw up that identity kit that they used to search for the suspect that shot and unalived Senzo Meyi. But the interesting part is that abantu ababesendlini, they could not help Steenkamp to drop that sketch that identity kit because there was no intruder. There was no person that entered the house. That's why they could not assist. Uthawu Makeleni, I suspect that he was used by the state in order to implicate the accused. The sad part is that Ulona Makeleni is no more, and we know that a dead man cannot speak. So now the court would ultimately accept his statement as being the truth, which will not work in favor of Bongantans. But my problem is that that statement is dubious and it is suspicious to me that a person can actually see such features at night. So Steenkamp, I think, is going to be questioned by Advocate Nisuguti. Is it possible for a person to see such features at night? And I'm interested to hear what Steenkamp uzothini, what did they speak about Uthawu Makeleni and so on when they were drawing up the identity kit. But to me, that statement and identity kit, it is suspicious, the manner it was obtained, and the fact that Makeleni is dead, and he cannot confirm for himself what he saw those two men running out of the Kola household, as well as seeing them earlier on at the gas station. So that statement for me is problematic because it is going to work against Bongantans since Makeleni cannot be cross-examined by Mnisi, Ramosepeli, as well as the other lawyers. So we shall see ukuthi uzothini ulona uSteenkamp, but his evidence will just put us in picture ukuthi what they spoke about Uthawu Makeleni. It might be hearsay evidence, but so the defense called him because the state did not call him. I think the state was ashamed of that identity kit because they could see ukuthi that identity kit, it is fraudulent. It is not what it seems. It is not Bongantans. It is not Kadamncube. So the state was ashamed to call Steenkamp. So I think the defense called Steenkamp just to hear from him ukuthi what did they speak about Uthawu Makeleni and how did he describe the intruders. So ulona Steenkamp, I think, is just a messenger, but I do not think he's going to help this case move forward because the person that was supposed to speak on that identity kit is dead. It is Uthawu Makeleni. He's the one that said he saw two men run out of household and describe their height, their skin color, as well as their gold tooth and dreadlocks, but he's no more. Then, going back to last week's evidence, we now know for sure that Bongantans is innocent. He did not unalive Senzo Meyiwa or participate in the shooting of Senzo Meyiwa because he was not there. We were told that Bongantans was arrested and kept in prison without appearing in court because he had pending cases. They said there were Nongoma cases where Tanzi was a suspect and he was being investigated. But kwafika uKolonel Khumalo, ubhuti and he says there are no such things. There is no case against Bongantans in Nongoma. The only accused in the Nongoma case was Qiniselani Buthelezi, who was charged and then ultimately found guilty in that case. But Bongantans wayengekho, was not involved. So Brigadier Gininda and Mokgane were obviously cooking this thing about Ntanzi being involved in the Nongoma case, allegedly. There was no such thing. And ubhuti, he mentioned very well that if the case was taken away from him and moved to Umokgane or Pretoria or wherever, he would have been informed by the system because the system shows where is the case currently stands. Status of the case is updated live on the police system. But in this case, it was not done. So Brigadier Gininda, I suspect that and Mokgane, they're going to be in big trouble after this case is over because now we can see that they conducted this investigation dubiously. First, we were told by Baba Oswald Muzungu that Brigadier Gininda allegedly asked him to implicate accused 1 and 2 because he was going to give him money as well as a trip overseas. Further, the same Brigadier Gininda was accused by Ule Shabane of trying to fabricate his statement. Remember that about 2 weeks ago, Ule Shabane came to this court and said Baloyi and Brigadier Gininda tried to force him to change his statement, which was in relation his interaction with Constable Zungu. But Ule Shabane refused because he's an honest cop. So we know that Baloyi has been accused of several things in this case, as well as Brigadier Gininda. So we know what they conduct their investigation in the manner that will suit them, even though it is illegal. So if we had a fair judge, I believe that the defense have created reasonable doubt. Therefore, the judge should find the accused not guilty. That is my own assessment of this case. Remember that the defense or the accused, they do not need to prove their innocence. They just have to create that small reasonable doubt ukuthi the story that they are saying, it is possibly true. If the judge feels that there's some doubt in the case, then the judge has no option but to acquit the accused, because it is better to release a guilty man rather than sending an innocent man to prison for a crime that he did not commit. So the judge, I think, he has no choice. He has to find these guys not guilty. Well, let's say he fails to do that, then it's fine. It's not the end of the world. The accused didn't have a chance to take this case to the Supreme Court of Appeal, and there are 5 judges in the bench that sit and listen to the appeal. And I believe those judges, they are not biased like Ratha. They are not old like Ratha. They do not have selective amnesia like Ratha. They'll see that this case was conducted in the manner that is not in the best interest of justice. For instance, the confession that was accepted, clearly the accused were tortured, but the biased judge still accepted those confessions. It was clear that Musibiya was tortured and beaten up because Musibiya was driven around all night and the confession was signed in the early hours of the morning. Why was the confession signed so early in the morning? Clearly they were busy mooring him and marinating him the whole night. That's why Musibiya confessed. He had no choice. He had to sign that confession because ultimately he had to save his life. The same with Bongantans. He was being beaten up and tortured. And then he signed that confession in the end. And for Ntans, it was even worse. They realized that the first confession was not enough. So they cooked more. They brought him Tiago and so on, and then took him to Magistrate Cronje to further sign the second fake confession, which is now a question of debate in court, because it's clear that that confession was obtained illegally. And firstly, if you do not believe me, remember that Ntanzi was kept in prison without appearing in court for the first 48 hours. Remember that if you are arrested, whether you are kept at the police station or the prison, you must see the magistrate within 48 hours so that you can apply for bail or just an introduction to say Bongantans has been charged with the case of doing so on and so on. But in the case of Ntanzi, it did not happen. They used that Nongoma case and said, no, he did not make his first appearance in the first 48 hours because he had pending cases. But Uputam Dales came to court and said, no, that's a lie. Ntanzi was never a suspect in the Nongoma case. So you can see in all material aspects of this case, it is cooked. From the beginning, you can go back to the ballistic. You can see in the house that the bullet jacket that they found in the crime scene was found on the Monday, after the police could not find it on Sunday. They looked in the house and checked all over, and they couldn't find it. But Monday, they found a bullet in an open place behind a glass jar. So clearly someone came there and placed that bullet jacket there, just to implicate any other person except those that were in the house. So this case is cooked. Any judge would see that why the bullet was found on the following day in an open place. A fair judge would see, which no man, the police planted that bullet or the projectile or the bullet jacket. They planted that bullet jacket in order to implicate someone else. And then we move over to Gadam Nuba's gun. The Tumangena collected the Cleveland police station and he found it in an open bag. Why was a gun placed on the floor in an open bag? That's not how you keep evidence. Evidence that shall be kept at a safe place at all material times so that you avoid condemnation or fabrication. I suspect that the gun of Gadla Mncube was placed on the floor because a barrel of a gun was changed maybe a day earlier or even later on. But because Umangeni, he was honest about that. I respect him for that. He was honest about one thing. The gun or the exhibit was compromised at Cleveland Police Station. Therefore, the judge cannot rely at the gun evidence that was provided by Mangena because the gun was not a secured exhibit. But we do not have a fair judge. I'm saying if we had a fair judge, this case would have been thrown out of court long time ago because it's clear that it is a cooked case. The police cooked this case. We were told that uTumela Madlala phoned uMlungu Hlophe and told him that Senzo was allegedly shot by Longotwala ngephutha while trying to separate the fight between Uzandi Khumalo and Longotwala. But shockingly enough, Advocate Baloyi did not bring uLongotwala in court to come and account for himself. Why did Baloyi fail to bring Longotwala as a witness? Clearly because he's protecting Longotwala from being exposed to the likes of Mnisi, because Abo Mnisi, they're going to eat him alive with difficult questions in court. But Baloyi realized, no. Longotwala, no, he's going to be in trouble. And then you ask yourself, okay, why was Gladys Khumalo, the owner of the house, was not called by Baloyi in court? Clearly because she was going to be exposed as a liar. Remember, Umakeli Khumalo is the one that identified Umbatha as being the one that entered the house, knowing very well that Umbatha was not the killer. Uzamakuhle Mbatha was the guy that used to wash imoto yakhe Khumalo and Usenzo Khumalo whenever they visited Foslorus. So it was not a mistake ukuthi uMakeli Khumalo pointed out as being the intruder initially. Why was Ramabom? Because she wanted to divert the attention away from her family. So that whole Khumalo family is full of liars. Uqala kuphi kumzali? You must remember that. But Baloyi failed to bring her to court because he realized that his case was going to be destroyed there and then. It's clear that there was no intruder in that house. Those people in the house, they lied about everything. And Baloyi knows it. Yet he still went ahead and charged Thabo Gadla for the crime that they did not commit. Remember that Gadla Mncube's gun, we were told that it is the gun that shot Senzo Meyiwe. But the cell phone records of Gadla Mncube shows that at about 7 p.m., 8 p.m., his cell phone record pinged at around Johannesburg CBD, meaning that Gadla Mncube was not in Vosloorus. He was in Johannesburg CBD. He cannot be in two places at once because he is not the Holy Spirit. So clearly, if you are a prosecutor, you can see, no man, Gadla Mncube did not shoot Senzo because he was not in Vosloorus. Yet they chose to bring this Constable Zungu, who lied about everything and said he saw this man at Vosloorus on the day that Senzo was shot and alive. He claims that they arrived in Gwabini where they drank alcohol and ate meat, and then later on these guys left the house and came back after 9 p.m. wearing woodies. And he says Umusibia said Senzo had been killed. He said before it was announced in the media. But the shocking part is that Constable Zungu kept quiet for more than 5 years with that information. And remember, Zungu is a police officer. So you can see that Zungu is someone that cannot be trusted because he kept quiet with that information for more than 5 years. And then comes Bab Ashon Zungu. He tells the court that, no, my lord, my son told me that he testified in court because he was promised a promotion within the SAPS. So there you have it. If a judge is fair, he will then realize that Constable Zungu is a liar and cannot be trusted and throw this case out. Clearly, these guys are not the one that shot Senzo Meyiwe. The case is cooked against them. Useprovile Absalom Zungu. Useprovile uBhuti omncane Khumalo wathi uNtanzi. He had no pending cases for Guinean that had been lying all along saying Tanzi was kept in prison because there were pending cases in Nongoma. So clearly the state, there's no case here. The state cooked this case. But we shall see today one of the Steenkamp. She's the one that drew up that identity kit that depicted allegedly uBongani Ntanzi and Nkandla Mncube, but we know for the fact that it is not them because they were not at the crime scene. Thabang Makeleni, I suspect that he fabricated a statement alongside the police, and then the police did something to him to make sure that he does not come to court and contradict himself. Why am I saying that? Because his death has never been solved. Nobody has been arrested for the death of Thabang Makeleni, and you ask yourself, why? The police know something about it, but they won't do anything because it is not in their best interest or the best interest of the case that is before court. So we shall see what is what.